You ever walk through a neighborhood and think, wait, how is this even the same city? Atlanta does that. One block feels like creative, walkable magic. 2 blocks over, you're dodging potholes and you are praying for streetlights. Everyone's got a take on this place, but most of them, surface level. What no one tells you is how much the details matter here. The taxes, the timing, the vibe. The difference between feeling stuck and feeling like you've made your smartest move yet. It's what you're about to find out. Because there's a part of Atlanta that's growing quietly, a part that's trickier than it looks, and a part that if you get in now could change everything about how you live, what you spend, and what your future here looks like. Ready for it? It's not where you think, and it starts right here. There's something wild about watching a city reinvent itself while you're living in it. Like one day, South Downtown's all empty warehouses and silence. Then suddenly it's DJs spinning in parking lots and Mexcal bars tucked behind barbershops. And the kicker? Half the people driving past have no clue what's unfolding. This city's not waiting for you to figure it out. It's moving. And the ones who spot the shift early, they're building a lifestyle most people won't catch until the prices triple and the parking disappears. You want to be ahead of that? Good. Let's take it block by block. Atlanta doesn't always announce when it's changing. It just changes. You're driving through South Downtown thinking nothing's moved, then you catch it. One street still quiet, the next has rooftop music, people spilling out of bars, and a mural halfway finished like someone's building a story in real time. I showed a loft there 3 years ago. Nobody wanted it. Same buildings under contract now for $200,000 more. Barely hit the market. You feel that shift before the press does. Same energy in Summerhill. You'll see a 1930s brick duplex with cracked steps, then look across the street at a glass and metal townhome with skyline views and a rooftop fire pit. That jump didn't happen overnight, but it sure feels like it did when you look at the numbers. 480,000s to 700,000s in less than 2 years. But it's not just big jumps, it's subtle ones too. Adair Park's a perfect example. Big lots, beltline access, craftsman homes with real soul and just enough renovation happening to know this area's turning a corner. No big developers here, just locals putting in sweat equity and raising the floor, slowly but steadily. That's what's different now. It's not one big shift, it's a bunch of small ones, all connecting. The Beltline used to feel like a bonus. Now, it's the thing tying these neighborhoods together. Bike commutes, late night food, and Sunday mornings that don't require a car or a parking deck. But here's the part that people miss. The townhome that looks like a dream comes with a tax assessment that resets after closing, and a bill that's suddenly $500 more a month. The bungalow that seems underpriced, flood zone. And I've seen HOAs come after clients for everything from paint colors to planters, because it's not just a home, it's a system. And the system's got rules. Nobody brags about on day one, but 2 months later, that's when the costs come in. So before we talk favorites or favorites with a view, let's pull the curtain back and see what this all actually costs. People come to Atlanta thinking they're getting a deal. In a lot of ways they are. But affordable here doesn't mean simple, it means layered. That $520,000 listing looks like a win until Fulton reassesses it post-sale. I've seen monthly payments jump by $400 to $600 overnight. You're not just paying for the house, you're paying for the moment the county decides it's worth more. I had a client buy a 1940s bungalow in Kirkwood. Original everything, arched doorways, heart pine floors, tiny porch with enough soul for a whole novel, but it backed up to a low spot. Floodplain designation changed. Insurance tripled. That house went from cozy to cash heavy in 2 phone calls. And just when you think you've done all the math, enter the HOA. I had someone else close on a townhome in Westview. Tight community, low dues, seemed like a win. 2 months in, they got hit with a $9,000 roof assessment because the reserve fund was nearly empty. No one tells you that during the showings. And if you're looking for new bills, Watch for utility fees that don't pop up on listing sheets. Sewer tap charges, streetlight maintenance, even sidewalk upkeep. East Point has neighborhoods where those line items can add $2,000 to $5,000 upfront on top of closing. Some buyers think, I've got room in my monthly budget, but that budget's not built for reassessed taxes, fluctuating insurance, or weird one-time fees nobody mentioned. That's when someone asks, can I afford this house? I ask, can you afford this house once it's yours? And once we've got that answer squared away, then we can breathe. Because after the math comes the magic. Atlanta's full of micro scenes, shared passions, and people doing life in a way that makes even the toughest home search worth it. You know, Atlanta's neighborhoods, they're kind of like different scenes at the same party. And who's moving where? That's changing faster than you think. East Atlanta Village is one of those places that just feels alive. I mean, there's this brewery where the bartenders literally know your name, a taco truck parked out front, and those old school bungalows sitting right next to fresh townhomes that didn't even exist last year. Prices? You'll find homes anywhere from the mid 400,000s up to about $650K. Mostly cozy spots between 1,200 and 1,800 square feet. One of my clients got in just before the prices started climbing. And trust me, people are buzzing about this place now. If you're thinking about something a little more laid back, Decatur might be your speed. It's all about families here, kids walking to school, packed farmers markets on the weekends. You'll find these gorgeous craftsman homes with all the charm, mixed in with new builds that actually help save on your energy bills. Lots tend to be about a quarter acre, and homes run from $600K to about $850K. Sure, it's about a 25-minute drive to Midtown. But for a lot of people, that slower pace is a trade they'll happily make. West End's been getting some attention lately too. It flew under the radar for a while, but now it's waking up. You've got these historic, beautiful homes with big yards, getting fresh paint and love, plus new cafes and co-working spots popping up. Prices are pretty reasonable here. Think high 300s to mid 500,000, making it a sweet spot if you want to be close to downtown without the Buckhead price tag. For families who want space in top schools, suburbs like Alpharetta and Roswell still pull strong. Big houses, 300,000 square feet and up, with yards where you could easily fit a pool or garden. Prices range from about $600,000 to over $1 million depending on the neighborhood and the finishes. The commute's a bit longer, 35 to 45 minutes, but many tell me the quiet streets and community vibe are totally worth it. Lastly, Summer Hill and South Downtown have been making waves. The city's rewriting its own story here. Warehouse conversions, creative office spaces, parks, and new entertainment venues have popped up where none existed a few years ago. Prices start in about $350,000, but are climbing fast. Square footage varies a lot, from tight condos to lofts over 1,000 square feet. So here's the thing. Atlanta's not one big city anymore. It's a patchwork of neighborhoods with their own vibe and stories. Knowing where locals are moving and why is your fast track to finding the right fit before everyone else figures it out. If you're wondering which neighborhood fits your style, or just want a local opinion before making a big move, reach out. My team and I have helped people land in just about every corner of Atlanta. You'll find our info in the description. If you ever need a second set of eyes, but just knowing where isn't enough, what makes a neighborhood home is the people, the passions, and those everyday moments that make the city come alive. And that's where Atlanta truly shines.
Green living isn't some fancy trend anymore. It's how people are living around here. If you wander into a newer spot in Midtown or Decatur, you'll notice solar panels doing their quiet thing on rooftops, smart thermostats that actually learn when you're home, and garages already set up with EV chargers. Most of these homes are between 1,500 and 2,500 square feet, and they usually start around $600K. But prices are creeping up because everyone's catching on. What's cool is these upgrades don't just look good. They actually save you money on energy bills and make your home way more comfortable without any extra comfort. I checked out a smart home in Midtown not long ago where the system pre-cools the place before the owners even get home. It's the kind of thing that feels like magic until you realize it's just smart tech doing its job. And clients tell me their energy bills dropped by nearly a third because of it. Community gardens are popping up all over Decatur, West End, even parts of Buckhead. Neighbors aren't just growing veggies. They're swapping stories, seeds, and maybe a recipe or two. These gardens bring a kind of connection you don't find at a grocery store. In some spots, homes sit on a tight 2,000 square foot lot. In others, like Buckhead, you might find yourself with half an acre yard perfect for a garden party. Getting around is changing too. The Beltline is more than a trail now, a city's green backbone. E-bikes and scooters are everywhere, making it easy to skip the car for short trips. Bike lanes are popping up fast, especially in places like Midtown and East Atlanta, where you can cruise 10 to 15 minutes instead of sitting in traffic. For families, smart features mean healthier, safer homes. Things like energy-efficient windows, water-saving appliances, and air quality monitors aren't just nice. They're becoming standard in new neighborhoods like Old Fourth Ward and West Midtown. And here's the kicker. Homes with these upgrades often sell for $20K to $50K more than similar houses without them. Atlanta's not just growing, it's getting smarter and greener. Smart homes and eco-friendly neighborhoods are setting the bar for what modern living means around here. Before we jump into what really makes Atlanta hum, its people, passions, and quirky little communities, let's see how these neighborhoods connect beyond just the tech. Atlanta has a way of pulling you into a dozen little worlds at once. Walk a few blocks in Kirkwood and you might spot that weekend bike co-op spilling into the street. Someone fixing a flat, a neighbor with coffee, a few kids circling around, trying to help, or just soaking up the scene. Half the time, the bikes matter less than the company. Funny thing, I've ended up with a new friend and a slightly wobbly tire more than once. It's that same overlap indicator. You'll see someone hauling dance shoes over one shoulder, waving to a gardener wrestling with a tomato plant in the front yard. Half the folks in these classes live in the 1920s bungalows. The rest walk down from condos or cottages a few blocks away. The whole routine's more about catching up than nailing the steps, and the after party sometimes drifts all the way to the bakery around the corner. East Atlanta and Westview? Backyards here double as produce markets. I can't count how many times I've seen neighbors swapping tomatoes or garden starts right over the fence. There's this one block in Westview where raised beds outnumber mailboxes, and somehow everyone still has room for a fire pit. Art sneaks up on you too. Cabbagetown, Old Fourth Ward, the murals change almost as quickly as the weather. Last month, I stumbled into a garage pop-up gallery just steps from the Beltline, and before I knew it, I was carrying home a print from a local artist I'd never even heard of. These streets, old brick, modern condos, tight lots, big dreams, they set the stage for everything from spontaneous music to all-night mural projects. Honestly, this is the kind of city where the stories spill over. You start out thinking you're just running an errand or fixing a bike, and next thing you know, you're invited to a plant swap or a porch jam session, talking with someone you only just met. If you want to know what actually makes a place home in Atlanta, it's all the small stuff that sneaks up on you between errands. The backyard tomatoes, the dance shoes, the mural that wasn't there last week. But if you really want to see the city turn up, wait until you catch what happens when the food, music, and every culture in town hits the street together. That's a whole new energy. If you really want to get Atlanta, you can skip the skyline, just listen and follow your nose. The city runs on diversity, and you don't just see it. You taste it, you hear it, you feel it. Picture a Saturday in Midtown. You've got folks pouring out of glassy condos, others waving from old craftsman porches just around the corner. Walk a block and you'll hear gospel, house, and probably 3 languages in line for coffee. One of my clients moved into a rental off Peachtree and texted me a week later, "How does every block have its own festival?" That's just how Midtown and West Side work. You don't have to look for your people here. Most of the time, they find you first. And the food scene, Atlanta is a parade of pop-ups and old favorites you'd never expect. I know a guy in Grant Park who swears by a tiny taco window that doesn't even have a sign. Buford Highway? If you can't find a bowl of pho or late-night Korean pastries there, you're not trying. Decatur's Turkish coffee shop is always packed, and Clarkston's got Jamaican patties that turn first-timers into regulars. One client from LA was convinced she'd never find real food after she moved here. 2 months in, she's giving me the latest on new spots in Chamblee and sending photos of her latest eats. Culture here isn't just events, it's who shows up. You might be living in a 2-bedroom loft in Old Fourth Ward and suddenly find yourself in the middle of a Caribbean street party. Or maybe you're in a ranch in Clarkston and your street becomes the parade route for Juneteenth. Festivals spill out into the city. Dogwood festivals, Wild Color, Jazz in Piedmont Park, night markets lighting up Summer Hill. Atlanta's one of those cities where, if you're open to it, you can join a potluck, help clean up the Beltline, or end up at a cultural celebration you didn't even know was happening. Sometimes, all in the same weekend. You don't have to force it here. Whether you're after the food, the music, or just a spot where nobody's a stranger, you'll find your place. But settling in, that's another layer because it's the daily routines, the favorite corners, and the feeling you get walking home at night that makes you realize you actually live here.
People love to talk about Atlanta traffic, but honestly, if you know where to look, you can outsmart it and maybe even skip it most days. Take the Beltline. I had a client who bought a bungalow in Old Fourth Ward, mostly so he could walk his dog to the Saturday market and not even think about parking. We figured out together that his favorite coffee spot, a bakery, and even his gym were all under a 10-minute stroll. That's real life now, not just wishful thinking. Same goes for Inman Park. Those lofts right off the Beltway are tiny, some barely 900 square feet. But who cares when you can roll out your door and hit brunch, the park, or the bar all on foot? Prices have climbed. A small condo or loft might run between $350K to $500K, and bungalows start at $500K and up. But a lot of folks say the lifestyle is worth every penny. Midtown feels built for people who want to ditch their car keys. One client moved into a vintage condo, 1,000 square feet, nothing huge, but she raves about being able to walk 3 blocks to Piedmont Park for yoga, grab dinner on Juniper, and be at a MARTA station for a 10-minute hop to Buckhead. No fighting for parking, no stress. And I can't count how many scooter and e-bike stories I've heard this year. There's this one family in Decatur who started doing Sunday rides along Edgewood Avenue. Parents on scooters, kids on bikes, stopping for pastries, and a playground run. Atlanta Hills used to scare people off, but now battery power changes everything. Sure, if you're in Alpharetta or Roswell, you get big home. Think 3,000 square feet, yards big enough for a pool or even a garden party, but you'll definitely put more miles on the car. Some love the peace and space. Others miss being able to walk out the door and land at a dog park or a taco shop in 5 minutes. All that to say, walkability in Atlanta isn't a dream anymore. Every year, there's another block, trail, or bike lane making it easier to leave the car at home. When you find the spot that matches your daily rhythm, where errands, friends, and a cold drink are all just a stroll away, that's when Atlanta feels like it's working for you, not against you. And once your routine clicks, you realize the city isn't just where you live, it's how you live. People ask about schools before anything else, and for good reason, but in Atlanta, great education looks different on every street. Decatur has that tight-knit walk-to-school feel. Kids biking together, parents swapping tips at the park, everyone waving on the sidewalk like they've known each other for years. Getting into that zone is pricey. Those classic craftsman homes and cozy bungalows start in the 650Ks and go up fast, but families say it's worth every penny for the community alone. I had a client move into Oakhurst, just a few blocks from Oakhurst Elementary. The first week, their daughter's teacher introduced herself at a Saturday farmer's market. Turns out her family lives down the block. That connection made the first day of school feel a lot less intimidating. The same client told me they've never lived anywhere else where the principal waves at families during the annual Decatur Lantern Parade. Lanterns glowing, the whole town out on the square. I'll never forget the first time I got dragged into an impromptu soccer game in Grant Park while previewing a house for a client. I was in dress shoes, totally unprepared, but there I was chasing the ball across the grass with a bunch of neighborhood kids and parents cheering from the sidelines. You just can't plan those moments. And that's what I love about working with families here. Head a little north and East Cobb comes into focus. You've got bigger yards, those top-ranked schools everyone talks about, and Friday night football that feels like a block party with bleachers. One family I work with moved out here from Midtown, craving space for a trampoline and a tomato patch. Their kids went from city play dates to having a whole crew on the same street. But the real secret? There isn't just one path. Charters, magnets, art programs, private schools, Atlanta is packed with choices. I know a mom who juggles co-op science in Piedmont Park, after-school language lessons near the Beltline, and museum days downtown, all in the same month. Families carve out their own rhythm, blending new routines with whatever works best for their crew. Some love city living in Virginia Highland, walking to ice cream shops and playgrounds. Others lean towards Roswell's sprawling lawns or Grant Park's block parties. I've watched families squeeze a picnic onto a postage-sized stamp yard in town or fire up the grill on a half-acre in the suburbs. Both felt unmistakably Atlanta. Raising kids out here is about mixing it up. Maybe you're in for the magnet school lottery. Maybe you're at the Saturday farmers market after soccer. Maybe you're swapping homework tips in the school parking lot with neighbors you only met last week. The best part? It all starts to blend together until your new normal just feels like life. When those little routines, school drop-off, Friday pizza, backyard games, start to happen on autopilot, you know you've made Atlanta your own. But routines are just the beginning. Finding your corners, making memories, and settling in. That's when the city really starts to feel like yours. Settling into Atlanta isn't about checking boxes. It's about those little moments where out of nowhere, it just clicks. Maybe it's the day your barista remembers your coffee order before you even say a word. Or when your neighbor leaves a homegrown tomato on your front porch and you have no clue which yard it came from. If you get dragged into a neighborhood group chat, congrats, you're officially in. Fair warning, half the messages will be about mysterious barking or debates over the best taco truck. Don't bother arguing though. Someone's grandma always has the final say. I helped a family move into Summerhill. Those 100-year-old homes with tiny yards, block parties that run longer than you planned, and at least one person who's lived there since before the Braves came to town. The first time they got invited to a sidewalk cornhole game, it was blazing hot and someone handed them a lemonade like it was a secret handshake. That's the thing about Atlanta. You might sweat through your shirt in August, but you'll never go thirsty. Virginia Highland gets wild on Halloween. Kids zigzagging down the street in costumes, porches packed with pumpkins and string lights, and neighbors trying to outdo each other's cider recipes. That's when city life feels like a tiny town, and you realize just how fast strangers become friends. Some people settle right into Grant Park. Porch crawls, beltline parades, impromptu backyard hangouts, postage stamp lots that somehow fit a dozen people and a grill. Others swear by the burbs, Roswell or Sandy Springs, where a backyard is half an acre and nobody blinks if your Friday night barbecue turns into a Saturday brunch. There's no one right way to land in Atlanta. The aha moment might come at a block party, at Morelli's ice cream after dark, or the day you realize you actually know your neighbor's dog's name, but not theirs. What about you? If you had to pick front porch in the city or sprawling backyard in the burbs, or maybe you're just here for the tacos, let me know down in the comments. Once your routines start happening on autopilot, school drop-off, Friday pizza, catching up with neighbors before a storm rolls in, that's when Atlanta isn't just where you live. It's your people, your rhythm, your home. Of course, just when you think you've got it all figured out, this city likes to throw in a curveball. A street festival you didn't know existed, a surprise rainstorm right before a Braves game, or a neighbor who shows up with warm bread out of the blue. Let's clear something up. Atlanta isn't just one thing. It's not just heat, highways, or high rises. It's whatever you want it to be. Porch hangs, backyard barbecues, late night tacos, or all of the above. Forget the myth that you have to pick between city buzz and real community. You can get both here, sometimes on the same block. Heard a wild Atlanta rumor or have a moving question? Drop it in the comments. I love busting myths almost as much as I love Norelli's ice cream. If you're ready to see more, check out the playlist popping up now for deeper dives into neighborhoods and local living. There's a ton waiting for you. By the way, my team and I are here if you ever want real, on-the-ground advice about moving, buying, or getting settled in Atlanta. You'll find everything you need in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.